Welcome to the Dead Bedroom Revival Podcast. My name is Kuri, your host, and today I'm really excited about this because it's one of those topics that everybody knows they should be doing, but we don't do it, and then we therefore then turn around and complain and say, I'm in this sexless marriage and the problem is with my partner. But really, if you take a step back, and if you've listened to this podcast before, you are not in this situation because all of a sudden your partner has lost interest or has lost libido. You're in this position because both of you have adopted habits and behaviors, and those habits and behaviors have now caused you to come to this place. So now that we've got that out of the way, is that if you can both agree that there's a certain piece of behavior that you've done in order to contribute to this, it gives you the opportunity to actually start thinking, what are those behaviors? And if you can change those behaviors, you can actually start reclaiming your sexy back in terms of a relationship. So I'm going to walk you through this, and this is something that blew my mind when I discovered this, because I was in this situation where I was finding it quite frustrating to find some sort of way of consistently seducing my partner, and having that sort of environment within our relationship where we were turned on to each other frequently, where I'm not initiating, but she's also initiating. I'm not in a position of, being the one that is constantly being rejected. And I wanted to change that, because that was the consistent thing. I would go out of my way to say certain things to see if she was at least mildly interested. And sometimes I would make some sort of joke and some sort of one-liner, some innuendo, and there would be half thrown things together. So I would half sort of put myself out there. And the reason why I was sort of halfway putting myself out there was the fact that after a few rejections, the pain of being rejected, because if you think about it, the pain of rejection always comes down for the fact that you really want to connect with your partner in that amazing way, but because they've decided they're not interested at that time, we take it to heart, because they're not just rejecting the actual sex, but you feel like they're rejecting you. So it got to that point where I would half-heartedly put myself out there, and then because I was half-heartedly putting myself out there, I didn't realize that I was sub-communicating that this was not that important. So the fact that I was sort of half doing it, and this is where the home run thing comes into play. Then if you think about it, if I was playing baseball and the pitcher was throwing the ball, and I was half throwing the bat or half swinging the bat, I would never hit the ball. And it's that same analogy when you think about it within our relationship. And if you think back to where you are right now, every time you initiate, it's just this half-hearted attempt, because you're trying to protect yourself, but at the same time, you're sort of trying to connect as well. So this episode was inspired by a guy who said, maybe I'm just a sucker for punishment. But no, it's because you're in this unique scenario where you are trying to protect yourself, but at the same time, you want to put yourself out there. And this cycle will continue until you change something. So this is one of the things that ended up happening for me, that I was lucky enough to actually take a step back and have a look at the certain things that I was doing. And one of the things that I realized I was doing was that I was half-heartedly putting myself out there, which then in turn communicated that this isn't as important as I'm making it out to be. So, for instance, if I put out an innuendo, using an example of the guy that I saw online, he said she was going to the shop. She said, "Oh, do you need anything from the shop?" He said, "Can you get some KY jelly for him or her?" So anybody who doesn't know what that is, KY jelly is a lubricant for sex. And really, she rolled her eyes and he felt quite rejected because he thought maybe that would just be the spark that then she goes, oh wow, that's cool, and then she'll bring the KY jelly, and in his mind that was the right track, and it wasn't the wrong thing to say. It's just the time he said it and the leading up to when him saying it was all wrong, and the effort that was put in. And I think he would admit to say that the effort that was put in was below par. It was not very good. It was not a very good effort. It didn't really show that he was really, really interested. So if you think about it from that perspective, and I've tried to lay the ground on this really, really a lot, because this is so, so important. When you can take a step back and start really thinking about the actual effort that you put in, and if you start putting in the effort that you could, which is really stepping up at least 10 times more, you're more likely to really communicate that sex is really important to you, and it's not just for self-gratification, but it's for connection, not just for a relationship, but for you as well as a human being, for your sense of well-being. You need this, and because we put such a low effort towards doing it, our partners don't see the value in it. So in a sense, I am actually putting it on us guys as well, because it's very easy to point the finger and say she's got no low libido, she's not interested in sex, she's conned me, she's she's treating me evil, she's being evil. But really, if you look at it, while we're trying to protect ourselves from being rejected, we then give these half-hearted attempts, which then also communicate that this is not as important. So this is a very important thing to actually start considering within your relationship. And when you start fixing this is what will be the catalyst to actually getting into the next level. And if you think about this, the real strategy on getting this sorted is really start focusing on chunking things down, because I think most guys do this thing where they try and eat an elephant in one go, whereas if you chunk it all down into small pieces, so instead of trying to get the seduction done with the sex done at the same time, chunk it down, stop and think of the whole seduction as one big massive piece. So if you were going to have sex that evening, you don't do it on the evening. You don't do the seduction thing in the evening. You start in the morning. You start warming things up in the morning. You not even just, you can even start warming it up 3 days before that. You start doing things that make you feel beautiful, things that make you feel sexy. And it's not only just words, but it's even how you behave. Like if you hold her, pull her in, sniff her neck and say, oh my God, you smell really good. That's another piece forward. So it's not a case of, you're touching up a boobs and then you're then grabbing your ass, and then you're doing so much so soon, and there's no real build up to it. There's no excitement. There's no anticipation to it. And there's things that you can do to build this up. And this is what makes it amazing, and this is what makes it seem like there's more effort towards it. Because when you lay the real ground, there's this metaphor about that the longer the runway, the bigger the plane. And there's something about it that the more ground that you can lay, the bigger the excitement, the bigger the orgasm, bigger the more intense that you can create within your relationship, because you're laying down the foundation. So this is one of the things that is so important, and you should be doing with your partner. That again, with some of the tactics that you might be doing with this, is like focusing on little things, leaving notes around the house, hiding notes into the pillow, putting little presents within the drawers, for instance, so she can find them. And even if it means that she hasn't found it within a couple of weeks, you just leave it there, and you can write the date when you put it in there. And those are the sort of things that you do, and it makes things exciting again, because you are doing things that are spontaneous, that are not predictable. And these are the sort of things that you do as an effort towards really creating that environment of seduction. So, and again, one of the things that ends up happening, and this is what happened to me, is that instead of me initiating things, because we created that sort of environment, she started initiating it, and she started making the innuendos towards me, and I started getting text messages as well over the phone. And this was absolutely amazing for me, and it was something where I started feeling a bit more loved. I started feeling wanted. I started feeling attractive, because it wasn't just me chasing, or it wasn't me just initiating. We're now both initiating to this, because it's something that we're continuously working together, and it's an environment that we're built. It's like a continuous thing that we're working on, rather than just before we have sex then we do this seduction thing. It was a thing that we were continuously in seduction, and then we'll just have a smaller piece into actually going to sex. So because we're continuously feeding into this thing here. So if you want to learn more about this seduction stuff, and you want 4 easy tips to really ramp up your seduction, we've got a free guide that we've got. Go to www.deadbedroomrevival.com, and you'll be able to find this. And just to recap this, it's really important that when you comes to seduction, it is important that it's an environment that you create within your house or your relationship. And the other piece that is important is that you have to put in the effort. You have to put in the effort. It's all well and good in saying that she's not interested. It's all well and good saying that she's got low libido. But part of it is because of the behaviors that we've done. We don't even put in the effort to actually do the seduction. We've got complacent, we've got lazy. If you think about it, when you're dating, you put in so much effort to make it feel special. You put in so much effort to make it feel sexy and you put so much effort into the seduction process, and it wasn't a one-off. You would do this continuously over the day, and all of a sudden, you've given her the raw deal now, because now she feels like you're different. You're not putting in as much effort, and you're expecting me to now be able to be available for you. And really, it's one of the key things when it comes to this, that most of the guys that I speak to, they blame the partners, but they never look at themselves and really realize that actually there's certain things that we're doing that are contributing to this. So hopefully this episode has been helpful, and this information, when I've discovered this was one of the key things that actually transformed our relationship, and I hope it's one of the key things that transform your relationship. So thank you very much for listening, and if you want 4 easy tips to seduce her, go to www.deadbedroomrevival.com, and that's where you'll be able to get a free guide, and she'll take you through the 4 different things that you can do in order to keep things real saucy and hot. So thank you very much for listening. I'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care.